So exactly that's it. What space law innovations enable interplanetary humanity? Not space law innovations which govern or regulate commercial activities or national space activities, but which innovations in law enable, foster, engender, assist interplanetary humanity. I ask that question because while we are seeing an era where a very impressive era of historic firsts in space activities, including even this week, historic firsts in lunar activities. And we see such bold innovation and ambition in space programs and missions and plans and commercial activities worldwide. That ambition we have not seen, and that innovation we have not seen, let's say, in international space law and national space law, the governance of space activities. And I say that to say this: we can certainly envision a situation, I would say 10 or 15 years from now, let's say on the surface of the moon, where national actors, astronauts from a variety of nations are under differing, fragmented, possibly conflicting legal norms and rules which govern their behavior, which grant them rights, which create obligations, and create prohibitions for them. We can see some countries which are governed by the 1967 Outer Space Treaty, a treaty of principles. We can see other nations which are governed by the Outer Space Treaty, and yet they also may be party to the 1979 Moon Agreement. And we may see additional countries which are party to the Outer Space Treaty and the Artemis Accords. This is likely a real problem because under the Outer Space Treaty, we have in Article 1, and I'm going to take you to law school for a few minutes, in Article 1 of the Outer Space Treaty, we have the freedom of exploration and use. States are free to explore and use outer space without asking permission from the UN Security Council, without asking for permission from other nations. They're allowed to go there, and they have freedom of access to all areas of celestial bodies. That is the great freedoms and rights which we see in the Outer Space Treaty. But balanced against that, we have Article 2, the non-appropriation principle, which says that outer space, including the moon and other celestial bodies, is not subject to national appropriation by claims of sovereignty, by means of use or occupation, or by any other means. So that non-appropriation principle, that areas on the moon or other celestial bodies is not subject to national territorial annexation, but at the same time, when there's freedom of exploration and use, hasn't been too much of a problem, and many spacefaring nations, which are part of the Outer Space Treaty, see this as, yes, we're allowed to go there, use the resources there, do the things that we want to do so long as we don't fall foul of annexing those territories. But if you are a party also to the Moon Agreement, I encourage you to take a look at some articles in the Moon Agreement, specifically Article 11 of the Moon Agreement, and marvel at the labyrinthine opacity of some of its passages, which seems to almost completely prohibit any type of personal ownership or ownership by you and another person, or you and a company, you and a country, of any resources. And in fact, the Moon Agreement calls outer space the common heritage of all mankind, something which somehow humanity owns and is a common inheritance or patrimony that belongs to outer space. I say that that is, in fact, the fullest realization of anthropomorphic colonialism, that we see celestial bodies and that belongs to humankind. The moon, Mars, that belongs to humanity. So it seems as though those countries which are part of the Moon Agreement have an additional set of problems. Taking a step back from what we have in space law, there are other general principles of international law, which I'll mention very briefly. We have the res communis principle, which we all own something collectively, and it exists in international law. Space may be a res communis. Other scholars say that space may be a res extra commercicum, a place where we can go and derive economic benefit from it. Those two phrases, res communis and res extra commercicum, exist in international law because they come from property law and international law, and looking at property on a national level. If you trace it far back enough, those phrases come from the Code Justinian of the 4th century. So Roman Emperor Justinian came up with property concepts applicable to Roman citizens. And I say it would be the height of absurdity if, in the far-flung future, American astronauts and Russian cosmonauts and astronauts of other countries are on the surface of other celestial bodies and are relying on interpretations of something that is over 1,000 years old. the true inheritance of the past, of these bold thinkers of the past and scholars and jurists of the past, is not the content of those laws. It is the ambition, the willingness, the boldness to draft new laws, new norms, which fit their specific circumstances. And that is what we should be doing when we go to outer space and other celestial bodies, when we are in a place which is hundreds of thousands of kilometers from the nearest courthouse, a place with different gravity and environment and subject to cosmic background radiation and micrometeorites. Why would we be using terrestrial concepts and terrestrial issues and norms? So we will have to develop new ideas which assist and enable, as I say, interplanetary humanity. To do that and not fall foul and result with all the miseries and horrors of the past and throughout history, we need new rules for that. Rules which don't create tension, which don't create rivalry, which don't seem to foster the potential for conflict amongst each other and the despoilization, the ruination of the natural environment itself. So the rules that we have for the past, I would think that we need to look strongly at them and have the ambition to come up with new rules, new norms, which will be applicable to these places. To do that, we need to not think not only of our rights, I have the right to go to space and use resources. We need to think of our obligations to other actors who may come there, who are there now or may come there in the future, intergenerational equity, and norms which respect the environment itself. Those notions of sustainability and conservationism and environmentalism to preserve the domain for a variety of purposes, maybe even not even human purposes, but that it is something that we need to just keep and ensure that it continues to exist. So to do that, we should not only talk about our rights, but also our responsibilities. And I would propose that to do that, we need to think about our long-term values as a spacefaring civilization. I would put at the top of that hierarchy of values that could not be transgressed from smaller or discrete unilateral activities. I would put at the top preserving peace, preserving respect for the rule of law, sustainability for future generations. And certain there are other notions of respecting commerce, respecting scientific investigations, respecting human life, but there should be at the highest these intransgressible norms. I don't know what answers we have, which will truly assist fostering law and what law will assist humanity in outer space, but I know that we need to have those difficult, challenging, but absolutely essential discussions about what values we will have when we go to space. Once we have those values, that's when we can start seriously thinking about what laws we should have. With that, thank you for your time.